Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Today we tackle a special issue, a special thing. I actually did this on, it actually got started on a Facebook page, believe it or not. You know how they say, believe it or not. Well, what I did is I went ahead and I created a thread and I asked folks for their opinions as far as why is it that no matter what condition occurs, why is it that somehow all of the times Republican women, in the aggregate, we know that there are exceptions to the rules, but in the aggregate, why do they support these deficient politicians? Why do they support masochists? Why do they support sexist, misogynists? Why do they do that? Well, I did that on the page, and you know what? I think we get a chance to see some answers here. But anyhow, folks, give us a call. First of all, if you're just joining us, please remember the first thing that we ask you to do is share this program. Please share this program on your page. Please share this program on your wall. Please share this program everywhere. It is essential if we are to get our message out. It is essential if we are to make a difference, because you know what? As we discussed in previous shows, we don't get the performance unless everybody starts to participate in doing in making sure that we get our message out. Folks, this is going to be a great show. I hope to get people to call in. I hope Republican women call in and set me straight if I need to be set straight, because you know what? The only way we're going to change this country is if we start communicating, not in a condescending way or anything of that sort, but in a respectful manner, and allow people the latitude, allow people the space to say what they want to say. Now, I am pretty sure many of you have seen exactly what has happened with the president. The president went on a rally yesterday, and what did he do? He decided to disparage Dr. Ford, the accuser of Brett Kavanaugh. You kind of wonder, look, I am almost sure there's nothing that's going to stop the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh. I am almost sure it's in the bag. But what are we to do? Folks, if you're just joining us, please remember to share this program. Share this program on your wall, on your page, everywhere, because that is the way we're going to make a difference. That is the way we're going to ensure that folks get the progressive message. Anyhow, I am almost sure that Kavanaugh is going to be placed on the Supreme Court. So what it means is that we have a possible former potential rapist on the court. We have somebody that we know has lied to Congress many times, and he is going to be up for determining whether people are lying as a Supreme Court justice. He's going to have to determine many things as a Supreme Court justice, but that is what we're getting. But you know what? It should not surprise us, because if we have Donald Trump as our president, and Donald Trump has garnered the vote of so many people, well, then, don't you think it should reflect he kind of reflect the president? Folks, those of you just joining us, please remember to go ahead and share this on your page, on your wall. If you're a Republican woman or a progressive woman who want to talk about this subject, please give us a call at 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Okay, title of the program: This is Why Republican Women Support Kavanaugh and Trump-alikes. Subtitle of the show is: Many continue to watch in horror as Republican women continue to support sexist and misogynist men, some accused of rape and more. You know, how can you do that? Do you have daughters? Do you have mothers? Do you have sisters? Do you have aunties? Do you have great-grandmothers? I'm pretty sure you do. Why is it that this is occurring? Well, we got a thread on our site that explained that. Anyhow, continue with the program. It is hard to understand why Republican women continue to support particular Republican politicians and judges, but a conversation I had with a few in Starbucks makes it clear. It is also I also had a recent thread on my Facebook wall where I asked why Republican women supported Brett Kavanaugh and others. The thread exploded first with progressive friends and then with Republican friends. It is quite informative when one examines the dialogue. We will discuss that in the blog of the week. For those of you who are just joining us, please remember, folks, please go ahead and share this program on your wall. Please share this program on your page. Please share this program on Twitter, everywhere, etc., etc., etc. Our throughput has dropped since the change in algorithm, and the only way it can improve again is if you continue to share the program. And after the program is done, remember that we have the blogcast and the vlogcast. The blogcast can be found at iTunes, at TuneIn, at just about everywhere where blogs are. And the full program is massaged and processed and then placed out there by the end of the day. So if you are interested in passing this along as well, remember the live show is great. That is when we go ahead and if calls come in, we can take your calls, etc. But you can also get to the blog. If you've missed the show, if you missed pieces of the show that you want to see, piece of a show that you want to cut out and send to somebody, then we have the blogs that are done. The podcast that is done afterwards, and the vlogcast that is done as well. Anyhow, folks, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay. Here is the weekly blog post, folks. The weekly blog post is titled, Why Do Some Republican Women Support Brett Kavanaugh? This was actually placed on the Daily Kos site, and believe it or not, did pretty darn good. A lot of people chimed in, and as you know, when I chime in, I try to chime in on a positive side. I don't necessarily want to disparage anybody, but here it goes. Many continue to wonder why men like Donald Trump and Brett Kavanaugh garner the support of so many Republican women. As someone who does not compromise his progressive values, but works extremely hard to engage civilly with people of all persuasions, I put out a call to Republican women for an answer. In other words, I wasn't going to make it up. I wasn't going to call these people by names. I wasn't going to do any of that. I figure I have a good enough rapport with enough Republican women who support Donald Trump, who support Brett Kavanaugh, that I could put a feeler out there and get some responses to it. Anyhow, I wrote a Facebook post asking Republican women to reveal the reasons why they give many of these men the benefit of the doubt. I posted the following, and here's what I posted on the site. I said the following. I have a question for my Republican female friends. Help me understand. Please, I need you to help me understand. The reality is that women, irrespective of party, race, ethnicity, etc., are abused knowingly by a sect of men that continue to carry the undesire of change troglodyte pathology. I kind of fuse those words together. Here's what I call those guys like Trump. The undesire of change troglodyte pathology. That's what they carry. I understand we do not want, this is a message that I sent them. I understand we do not want any person falsely accused by a random person coming out of the woodwork. But why would one allow one's party tribalism to take precedence over the cancer that uneradicated affects one's mother, daughter, wife, female friends, aunt, etc.? Dr. Christine Blasey Ford is just as accomplished as Brett Kavanaugh. Why do Republicans give him the benefit of the doubt more so than her, even though the probability is on her side, given the history, given his history, and given the subsequent history that we saw about him? We know he's a drunk. We know he was a sloppy drunk as described. We know he was violent. We know that he got into an altercation where the cops were called and some liquid or something was thrown in somebody's face. We know these things about the guy who will be Supreme Court Justice. So why would we not believe her over him? Now, look, it is true she could be lying, but I think it would not be too easy to figure that out in the long run. But these people just give a blanket call to him. So here we go. Why do Republicans give him the benefit of the doubt more so than her, even though the probability is on her side given the history? But I got me a PS. An accomplished should not need to be probative. And accomplished, that she's accomplished, doesn't need to be probative, just saying. In other words, we don't have to say that, oh, Dr. Ford is accomplished, and because she's accomplished, that is why we believe her. But if it wasn't an accomplished person or whatever we deemed unaccomplished, didn't deserve it. No, we have to be better than that. We have to be better than that. Not only a little bit, but quite a bit. Anyhow, so I have a lot of Republican Facebook friends and followers. I do. It surprised me how long it took to get a response from a Republican woman. In the interim, though, there were many responses from Democrats and progressives. So some women said the women were misogynists, but there were good analyses and differences among liberals. So a liberal woman attempted to do what many do not realize in the political domain. Certain principles do not apply. We must always remember that. Certain principles do not apply. Folks, if you're just joining us, please remember to share this program on your wall, share this program on your page, share this program on Twitter, everywhere, because if we want a progressive message to be heard, the only way our progressive message will be heard is if we, the consumers of news, share them. If we don't share these programs, if we don't share this ideology, then we allow others to put in defective ideologies into our body politic, which is what we have right now. A defective ideology that is materially hurting the country. So we need you to share as much as you can. So please go ahead and share the program. Okay, here, a liberal woman attempted to do what many do not realize in the political domain. Certain principles do apply. And here's what happened. Here's what she said. People who put themselves in his shoes don't want to be called a rapist. If they are not one and can't imagine Kavanaugh being one, people who put themselves in Ford's shoes don't want to be called a liar. If they are not one and can't imagine her being one. But don't both people deserve to be treated as truthful until proven otherwise and or they admit to such? Wouldn't we want to be believed unless we admit otherwise, in which case we want the chance to correct ourselves? This is still a progressive woman speaking. If we don't ask for anything we wouldn't agree with it ourselves, if we were accused of rape or lying, this circus would stop. This should not be tried in the media. The hearing should take place under oath without assuming anyone is lying. Let each person who testifies be responsible for their own words, not the interpretations imposed by other people who should be responsible for their words, respectively. And let Ford and the authorities in Maryland pursue the other investigation for sexual attacks that may not have a statute of limitations. Separate the two processes and timelines, or rather separate the two processes and timelines so this doesn't obstruct justice or impose pressure on either person's testimony or defense. If Ford is falsely misrepresenting and defaming Kavanaugh, judge or others by slander or libel, formal complaints should be addressed as well, but separately, not mixing these two together, which causes the messes of being tried in the media. So true what she had to say. But here's the deal. Another liberal responded to what she considered a naive person. And this is what she said. Whoa, I hope and pray you are never a victim of sexual violence. It is a horrible place to be. Women die every day because people would rather analyze abuse than punish the abuser. At the end of the day, our laws ensure due process. At the end of the day, our law ensures due process. Let Kavanaugh have his due process, but not while sitting on the Supreme Court. He is unfit on so many levels. And that is something that I want to hit on before I go further. It doesn't matter whether he's guilty or not at this point. I think we have sufficiently corroborated that he wasn't a very nice guy in high school or college. I think we already corroborated that he's a misogynist. I think we've already corroborated that he attacks women's character. Remember the alumnus, Renate alumnus, which probably mean a whole lot of these guys did some things with this young lady. We also have to remember FFFFFF. Go look it up on Google. I'm not going to talk about it here. Also, go look up the things where he lied to the Congress, claiming that it wasn't drinks they were talking about or other things that they weren't talking about. So let's be careful there, my friends. He does not belong on the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court does not have to put him there. You have to have a certain level of morals, decor. And the reason we're saying that is not that we want you to be virginal. It's not that we want you to be just a pure person. Is that the rest of the country will not respect the decisions that you make if you seem like you are like Kavanaugh. Once he went and attacked progressives, once he attacked the left, no person on the left will take a 5-4 decision seriously that he is on the opposing side. No one could possibly take that seriously because he would be a defective judge. You don't ask the victim to work with the perpetrator. You're a woman. How would you feel? This is an answer from one progressive to another. The previous one that I read, that person wanted to do everything sort of through the law and prove your case, and Ford had to be more specific than anybody else, that sort of thing. You're a woman. How would you feel if you came forward about sexual violence committed against you and you were told to work with the person who harmed you? Believe women, we don't make this kind of stuff up. Well, there are a few women who might, but you know what? We should always err on the side of the woman is telling the truth. Why? Because of history. Because of history. And if we find some woman that isn't telling the truth, then again, we make an example out of that person. But start out always by believing, because more so than not, this stuff is happening. And I'll tell you some stories about college a few later on. You and other women like you who think this can be approached in this fashion are rape apologists, sympathizers. It may sting to hear that, but it's the truth. Do better for our girls. That is one liberal to another liberal. One woman then pointed out a reality that not only describes women, but every group that has been maligned or oppressed. I've always found it amazing. If you take a look at black folk, Latinos, women, and all these different demographics, there's something that you always see. All these different demographics that at some time was oppressed or told they couldn't do something or they had to be of substandard levels or whatever, intrinsic to them, you always find a degree of self-hate, a degree of insecurity that is very hard to overcome. Many of us do, many don't. And that is something that we always have to fight. So here's what this woman had to say. My question is, why don't women support women the way men support men? Actually, that's not my question, because cultural studies tell us why. Because men have always had power. Very little of what power was left over, so women had to fight each other for it. Doesn't it sound familiar? The poor fighting for the scraps as the plutocracy takes all the big the big large sums of money, the big projects and everything. And what's left, we have the masses, Latinos, los negros, los blancos, everybody are out there and they're fighting. They're fighting for the crumbs. No, you don't fight for the crumbs. You take the cake. You do not fight for the crumbs. That is how the oppressed behaves. When you've been an oppressed class, when you have been a class that have been maligned, All those behaviors are consistent to what happens. So therefore, we are always supposed to not fight our brothers and sisters for the crumbs. And by the way, 90% of us are probably the ones who would be fighting for crumbs. At different levels, of course, but for crumbs. We should never fight each other because the mass amount of value is up top. The lie that they tell you is, well, it's still just a few there, and the very masses out there would bankrupt. Oh, no. We don't understand the pathology of money, so the pathology of extracting money from the middle class and the poor, and the amount of money these folks have up top. We could not possibly imagine the wealth and the lifestyle of these people, not created by them. I always like to tell folks that, because a lot of times you say, behind people's mind, they've been taught to think this way. Oh, well, I guess if they earned it, I would just hope that they'll spend it better, because those rich people earned it. No, absolutamente no. It's imperative. I'm going to come back to the vlog in a minute. But anytime I hit this note, I try, because we have new users, I try to teach a little bit of economics so that you have the power not to believe in the crap. Whatever, the way these programs work here on Politics Done Right is people just keep coming and going. They take in a little bit, they leave, because nobody or a few people, I'd say 10-20% probably can stay the entire show, but you have people that come in and leave or whatever. So that's why sometimes I repeat myself. Sometimes I ask people to do certain things. If you're just tuning in, please, folks, I ask you, whether you're staying or not, please go ahead and share this program. It is essential for us to move the message forward. Now, I want to tell you something about a press class, and I was going to tell you guys something about the economy. A lot of people from the oppressed class would look and say, oh, they are rich, but they probably worked hard. Oh, that's their money, all that kind of stuff. Look, the way people got wealthy in this country, there's nothing altruistic about it. There's nothing benevolent in the way a whole lot of people got rich. Every now and then you find somebody that got rich out of using their hands and their labor. But most people, Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world at $160-something billion. Did he really do anything to earn that money other than being at the luck of the draw that his website was the one that was going to win selling products, and that he was going to be able to hire many engineers and physicists and math people who could arrange a system of delivery, who could arrange that those boxes that you order on tonight can show up to you tomorrow, that those boxes that you order today that are in stock in a close location can be here today. It wasn't Bezos who did that. It was Bezos's employees, the ones that are making $15 an hour. Well, those that are doing that make probably $100,000 an hour. But $160 billion. Look, we have to learn the term excess labor. We have to learn the term excess labor. The money that profits are nothing more than excess labor. Now, do I like profits? Yes, I like profit. Do I want to get rid of profits? No, I don't want to get rid of profits. I believe in free enterprise, and I believe that we should be allowed to make a profit. What we should not be allowed to do is capitalize on a humongous percentage of the added value employees put. In other words, if your company pays $15 an hour, but when you add all the numbers up and divide it by the number of employees, it is $100 per hour per employee. There is no way that $100 per employee that company is making, that is your excess labor. Why is it called excess labor? It's labor that you can't use because you have given it and monetized it to the wealthy person. In the book that I'm writing called How to Make America Utopia, I'm going to be talking about that concept in there. By the way, as I write chapters of this book, you can actually go ahead and read it. Every chapter I release, you get a chance to read it if you are a subscriber to Politics Done Right. So if you subscribe to Politics Done Right, go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. It is in the heading of this show that you can just click on it and go there. And for $1.99, I think it is something of that, you can actually subscribe to go ahead and read this book as it comes out. And I have another caveat for you. Guess what? If for some reason, and by the way, there is also a work group for a Facebook group for this book, where if you go in there and you start talking about the book, and or you have ideas, or you have concepts that you would like other people to see, and I decide that I want to put this in the book because you had such a great idea, I will, with your permission, cite you in the book, so you will have a book with your name in it. So again, folks, How to Make America Utopia is the next book that I'm writing. The first book, of course, is As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. You can get that at Amazon. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. That was a darn good seller for us because people could understand the concepts in it. People could really understand the concept. But anyway, go to patreon.com/politicsandright. We explain a whole lot of what I was just talking about. Anyhow, if you want to give us a call and talk about Republican women and why do they act the way they do, why do they support what they support, please call 646-716-5812. I will get you on air. Anyhow, folks, continuing with the blog of the week. So, very little of that. Let's start with what the woman had to say. One woman then pointed out the reality. Or another liberal responded. Let's see where I am in the prose here. Another woman responded to what many realize that political domain certain principles do not apply. I did that already. Another liberal woman responded with what considered a naive response. And here we go. One woman then pointed out the reality that only describes women, but not only describes women, but every single oppressed group, women, blacks, Latinos, Chinese, all these different folks that at some point in this time were oppressed. There's always that recessive thing within that brain, unless it's extricated. I mean, in the book, I'll talk about how I got that sort of stuff extricated. It has a lot to do with my upbringing, my parents, but I mean, and it's something that you can do for your own, etc. But anyhow, here's what this other liberal said. My question is, why don't women support women the way men support men? Actually, that's not my question, because cultural studies tell us why. Because men have always had power. Very little of that power was left over, so women had to fight for each other for it. They fought each other for it. They fought for the scraps. That's what she's talking about, just like we spoke about the crumbs earlier. That is what they do. And you know what we have to do is make sure to stop that. Anyway, continuing with the blog. Thus, over zillions of generations, instead of challenging male power, women accepted it and fought each other. This is no revelation, and I'm not saying anything that most of you don't know, so that's history. What I wrestle with is watching upper-class, educated women in our community continue this. The woman who wrote this one is a woman who lives in a neighborhood that I know, an upper-class neighborhood, and it turns out that she's saying, what concerns her, this was what I wrestle with is watching upper-class educated women in our community continue this. I suppose they are comfortable with the status quo and fear change. I don't know. That's what she says. Close quote. After a few hours, Republican women started to chime in. I called out one of the first ones for her tribalism. She just came in and she called everybody idiots. She just called liberals all kinds of names. That's not where we wanted to have the conversation. We wanted to have a real conversation where we could really query Republican women to see where they're really at and try to understand. I don't necessarily want to say the pathology, but we want to try to understand why is it that they are thinking or doing things the way they're doing. She simply called Dr. Ford a liar with no real substance to qualify her response. Another Republican woman took exception but spent more time attempting to justify the support. And here's what this Republican woman said, and I want you to listen keenly. Because she was proud of who she is, she was proud of Kavanaugh, etc. So here's what she said. I am a Republican woman, proudly. I have raised 2 accomplished daughters. I support Judge Kavanaugh not because of party or tribalism, but simply because of truth and timing. If he had really assaulted her, she's had 35 years and 6 FBI investigations to air her grievances. You see what happened there? A woman attacking a woman for something that studies say women do all of the times. Not tell, or it takes years before they even tell. The fact that this event all the way through the months of hearings and was brought up by Dianne Feinstein at the last minute makes it sketchy. Feinstein had many opportunities to question Judge Kavanaugh, and she did not. Absent from that was that the woman didn't want notoriety. She didn't want her name used. She just wanted that to be in the record. Blasey Ford supposedly can't even remember the details of the supposed assault. Of course not. Trauma. What year, the location, or even the other individuals involved? Well, she named quite a few individuals. If there was really an assault, every detail would be burned into her memory. Not really. Pertinent assaults, the things that burnt into her memory are the things that are that will make her survive. In other words, the things that she's doing immediately to survive. Those are the things she remembers. It's sort of the reason the body behaves that way is sort of learning how to live, learning how not to get killed. So you block out everything else and you intensify certain things. So you are very focused. That's how a whole lot of these these drugs work as well. They allow you to focus on specific things instead of being all over the place. What year, the location, or even the other individuals involved? If there was really an assault, every detail would be burnt into her memory. I believe she is lying and or being used by the Democrats to derail Judge Kavanaugh. Besides, Judge Kavanaugh is going to be confirmed. I hope he remembers it was the liberal Democrats who dragged him through the mud, and he votes against their agenda every single day for the next 40 years. That, my friend, is a friend of mine, a Republican woman, who is saying, in effect, she wants a partisan judge not to look at the merits of any case, but if it's a liberal in front of his courts, to automatically deem that liberal suspect guilty and rule against him for the next 40 years. Folks, if you're listening to us, please go ahead and subscribe now, or rather go ahead and share right now. Share the program to others. It'll make a difference. Okay, that comment elicited my response. I mean, when I write these blogs or these things on Facebook or whatever, the idea is, as the moderator of the page, as a creator of the page, of the owner of the page, what I try to do for the most part is stay out most of the times, right? I want the messaging to develop outside of my influence, and the reason why I want it to develop outside of my influence is I have an ideological position. I want people in that room to be free to hash it out. And then I come in as a moderator. I try to be as arbitrary as possible, which I usually am. But here was my response to that, because I think that was a dangerous response. First of all, this is what I said. First of all, thanks for coming over. I was wondering where my Republican female friends were. You know, as left as I am, I maintain some modicum of objectivity. I admit that I do not know whether the judge or the doctor is telling the truth. In what I know about abuse, assault, etc., after taking training in many of the organizations I am in, Dr. Ford's behavior is not uncommon. I tend to believe her over the judge after other allegations. In other words, there's quite a bit of allegations out there. Is there politics involved? Of course. Liberals like me do not want this man on the bench, and we will do everything within the political domain to stop it. That is how democracy works. Since Trump is in power, we know we will get someone right of center. It just must not be this one, in my opinion. That said, I do not think the politics Democrats are playing is near as bad as that of denying President Obama his constitutional right to have at least hearings on his pick to replace Antonin Scalia. Democrats will forever and rightfully consider that a stolen seat. In fact, that is what it is, a stolen seat. Personally, I think it is fair to expect some sort of reciprocity. I expect that you are anti-abortion. Believe it or not, based on how I was raised, I am too. The difference is, as a man, I want to have no responsibility to tell you or any woman what you can and cannot do with your body. This is between you and you're God, and only you will answer to that. Now that I've got that out of the way, in a democracy, we need to learn that in the areas where we differ, which I have proven are not a lot when one goes issue by issue of significance, we fight like hell for our position within the bounds of civility and respect on all sides. Here's the deal. A lot of people are going to say, hey, brother, you just made a false equivalency when you said most of us think alike. No. I'm going to tell you something, Republican, Democrat, or whatever, you start asking them questions about the policies that they want. You will be surprised to see how many of them coexist, how many of them coalesce. Some of the social issue, no, not so much. But on a whole lot of other issues, on Social Security, on Medicare, on even on health care, when you take the politics out and just talk about generalities of what you want in health care, you'll be surprised how close they are, Republicans, Democrats, and everybody else. Anyway, continuing with my response. That said, there should be nothing stopping folks from having a cup of coffee together and being cool during the process. What process I'm talking about? Coming out with which policy is going to win or not. Okay, let me tell you a little secret. The reason I do not fight or even resent my pro-Trump or right-wing brothers and sisters is that I know a reality few know. We are pawns. After this is all over, Hillary and Trump will be partying together and laughing at us all. It was never about the politics or the people to them. It's a sport. And as many destroy relationships, they walk away from the spoils. And that's why I keep a level head, as left-wing as I am. All my right-wing brethren should as well. I want you to do me a huge favor. Go see the Michael Moore film Fahrenheit 9/11. Go see, actually it's Fahrenheit 11/9, I don't remember. I want you to see it not for the anti-Trump portions, but for the Obama and Democratic Party portion. You will see what I mean about all of us being pawns, and encourage others on the right to see that film as well. You will be surprised. You see, we need a new paradigm, and it is not a Democratic Republican paradigm. Remember, in a set of tracks, if you have two tracks, the left and the right rails are still going to the same place. We are all being conned. And I like to tell people, we talk about the left and the right, the left rail and the right rail and the center and all that kind of stuff. When they're talking about the left and the center and the right, remember one thing. All those rails lead to the same position. They lead to the same place, left or right. We need a paradigm shift. We need a complete paradigm shift where we can bust the left rail off, derail the sucker civilly. But it has to be derailed because you do not want to continue in the corporate direction that you're going. You do not want to continue in the direction of the plutocracy. You do not want your engineer to be the source or to be the object of the plutocracy, which is what we have right now. Anyhow, my Republican friend's response not only illustrated her tribalism, but something I preached all the times. You won't change people's minds immediately, but with a correct narrative and tonality, you can crack the door open. This is a response I got from her. Berto, are you still in Kingwood? I actually would like to buy you a coffee if you have time one day. I do have a couple of questions, genuine questions. I will message you with my number. Thank you. The reason I put that little piece in there, right, is because this woman knows that I am a left-wing liberal. This woman knows I'm a progressive as come. In fact, I'm more progressive than most Democrats. I consider myself a democratic socialist, a socialist Democrat. Okay? Now, I want everybody to be that? I really don't care. I am pushing policies. I am pushing policies that help people. I am pushing policies that are going to make people's lives better. Call it whatever you want to call it. But the policies that we support are policies that are going to help 90% of Americans. And the other 10% don't need any policy to help them because they own everything. So that's what we're doing here, my friends. What we do here is we try to open the door of knowledge, ensure that people are informed, and start to get the ball moving to a more egalitarian society, to a society that supports us all, to a society that built in within the economy isn't a switch that says, I extract all the money from you, which is what we have right now. We extract all the money from whom? From you. All right, let me finish the blog up. Okay, here we go. I am sure we will have a cup of coffee, disagree on the issues we see played up on TV 24/7. What I do know is that in the end, she will realize that left-wing progressives, liberals, do not have horns. Many of these people have been so indoctrinated with a rather foreign reality to many of us that it is easier to just leave it alone. I want to repeat that paragraph again. It's important. I am sure we will have a cup of coffee, disagree on the issues we see played on TV 24/7. What I do know is that in the end, she will realize that left-wing progressive liberals do not have horns. Many of these people have been so indoctrinated with a rather foreign reality to many of us that it is much easier to just assume. It is just easier to just assume that we have horns. Guess what? We don't. We don't have horns. After spending a half hour, or let me tell you a quick story. This is a good one. After spending a half hour or so speaking to a woman in Starbucks a few weeks ago about healthcare, student debt, I had her convinced. I mean, she was completely convinced that Medicare for all was a good thing. Moreover, it was fiscally responsible, something conservatives like, with taxpayer dollars, as opposed to a system we have currently today that just about pilfers everybody and causes the government to spend a whole bunch of money. I did the same with student loans. Minimize the cost of these items, less overall taxes in the aggregate. Based on the tone of the conversation, the woman thought I was one of them, a conservative Republican. She likely assumed that based on the area which is likely the reddest community in Houston. At the end of the conversation, I asked her if she realized I was a left-wing progressive, a democratic socialist. I wanted her to know with whom she agreed. She looked at me in utter astonishment. And this is what she said. "But you're so nice," she said. I told her she should consider taking a couple of her friends and hanging out with a group that I know here. In fact, a group that my wife is a part of as well, called Liberal Ladies Who Lunch. She would probably learn quite a bit there. Folks, whenever we figure out the narrative problem, guys like Kavanaugh will get their due. They will cease to exist. In the interim, however, we have got to fight like hell. Now, it is true, and I really honestly believe it. I believe Kavanaugh is going to be confirmed sometime next week. That is my theory. I believe if a whole lot of stuff comes out and they continue to do research, he may be the first Supreme Court judge in a long time to get impeached, which would be a good thing. But anyhow, we'll see what happens. Let me go ahead and see what people are saying let's go ahead and see what people are saying. For some reason, this stuff doesn't pick up all the things, but let's try from here. Okay. Senor Michael Rudnin, I can't understand this misogyny is not a male-only attribute. Well, you know what? I better stay away from that one. I'll leave that to you because I don't have the exact answer. Mike Cisak, we have determined that Ford lied to Congress. No, we have not determined that. Let me guess. You're talking about the right-wing bubble has been lying to you again. Oh, Rudnin, that was a perfect response, and Mike Cisak responded to that. That's not what I'm talking about. So I wonder what you're talking about, Cisak, because the truth of the matter is, no, the woman did not lie when she was under oath. Marianne Leggett Paris, you're great. Thank you so kindly, Mary. Mike Cisak, nope. And then you go ahead and give a real clear investigations, which I don't know what that group is, likely a right-wing group. Kathleen Morgan says, Hi from Chile, Massachusetts. Please, Kathleen Morgan, send some of that cold air to Texas. We are still burning up. I came to the studio at 90 degrees. 90 degrees, not the 99 degrees it's been for a while, but still 90 degrees is high. Mike Cisak, Ford's former boyfriend under oath completely counters Ford's claim. Not true again. Again, do your research. The boyfriend hasn't a clue what happened with her at that house. Michael Cisak continued, Ford's story kept changing as things went along. Oh, really? Not true. Ford didn't know that Kavanaugh kept a calendar back in high school and is a habit to this day. The calendar shows that there was no time that Kavanaugh was around to be at such a party. On the date, July 1, has already been proved that it wasn't the time on question. It has not been proved. My God, my dear brothers and sisters, why don't you go to objective sources as opposed to sources with an agenda? Mike Cisak again says, all of these affidavits and the therapist notes reportedly say a federal judge until January 28, 2018, when it becomes Kavanaugh. No, he was the judge. Okay, Michael Rudden in the Facebook group being discussed. Thank you so kindly for posting that, Michael. Okay, Michael Rudden says, so we were going to have a partisan hack on the Supreme Court. Kavanaugh's temperament and blatant partisanship are disqualifying of a Supreme Court seat. Ex-CIA Chief John Brennan said. Mike Cisak directs this message to me. Egberto, like the leftists in the Senate, will do anything, including destroying an innocent person to hold on to power. I have no problem for those who are destroying Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh destroyed a lot of lives with his rulings. So, I think people need to pay the price for their rulings. Michael Rudden, most Democrats aren't leftists. They're corporatists with a mild left-leaning social. Boy, Rudden, you got it right, and that's the reason why we have to do it. And yes, it is Fahrenheit 11.9. I in the code I put 9.1 on, but it is 11.9. Mike Cisak says we should be women when they have evidence like the former girlfriend of Democrat Keith Ellison, whom he beat and abused, and somehow the tapes that they said they had, somehow they can't get it to the district attorney. Apparently, it's not around. You think that was just a hit job by the Republicans? They're good at that. And by the time you find out it's a hit job, it's too darn late. Why? Because you've already lost the election. Fairy Mock, how are you doing, Fairy? Nice to see you. Mike Cisak, what? We would be women? As far as Ellison, that case is being investigated. If he abused her, he should resign and face the consequences. Amen. We are not asking for special favors. We just want the truth. We're not asking for anybody to do anything for us. We just want the truth. Folks, if you're just joining us, please remember, share this program on your Facebook page, Facebook wall, and everywhere else that programs can be shared. You know why? Because the only way people are going to hear these messages is if you go out there and make sure other people see it. And if you were unable to reach it all, realize that when you go to our page, politicsdoneright.com, we'll have the podcast, the vlogcast, and everything there that you can actually listen to it on your own computer at any time, or you can listen to it through iTunes. You can listen to it through FM. You can listen to it play.fm. You can listen to it through iTunes, and any one of these networks you can listen to the program. I promise you. Now, folks, if you we have a little offer here I want to give you real quickly, and that is our book. The new book is How to Make America Utopia. I was kind of trying to give it a little name close to like something like Make America Great Again. Well, no, I wasn't going to do that. So I said, How to Make America Utopia. Trump just said, Make America Great Again. I'm saying, How to Make America Utopia. I was in Starbucks today, and I was talking to a young man who saw the book, and he said, Egbert, utopia, there can't be no utopia. I said, look, we're talking about aspirations here. How do we aspire to be utopian? We may not get to utopia, but we can get to egalitarianism. And he said, I get it. That's what we're talking about, folks. Eso es de lo que estamos hablando. That is what we're talking about. So, please, if you want to, as I write this book, right? As I write this book, I'm writing it one chapter at a time, and every chapter that I write, chapter 1 is released. Every chapter that I write, I put it on the website, egbertowillies.com. And for those of you who are subscribed to Politics Done Right, and to go do that, just click. If you're watching this on Facebook Live, the link is right there to subscribe. Otherwise, it is patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right. You can go ahead and subscribe. And what that does is, as I release new chapters, you get to see it immediately. But here's the most important part about it. We also have a social group, a Facebook group for the book. You can go into that group and you can decide, you know what? I wish she would put this in the book because this is important and based on the subject, it would be right. I will be looking for advice as I am writing the book. And if you give me advice that I use, with your permission, I will cite you in the book by name. So you could actually turn out to be in a book that's going to be selling all over Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and everywhere else. Think about that. So please go ahead and consider subscribing if you have the wherewithal to do so. We need to get the progressive movement going, and we need people to support the progressive candidates. We need somebody who's going to be out there promoting it. So I'm asking you to go ahead and subscribe. Go to patreon.com/politics done right. And folks, it is so important that we do so. I have some other goodies coming up, and we're going to have, there's a product called Zoom I'm looking into, so that every so often in the afternoons or in the evenings, I am going to have personal chats. What that means is I'll say, okay, let's say the first 10 people, or I don't know what it costs to get Zoom, but I'm going to get it. You know, as get more subscribers, I can do more of that. I am going to get that Zoom tool, and what I'm going to have is sort of things like chit chat homes, or I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, that allows all of us to get together through video on your computer, and we all talk and see each other at the same time, and we can have little talks about what's going on, and maybe you can also help say, hey, Egberto, we need to do this on a show or that on a show or whatever, and all our subscribers are going to be privy to use that tool to call in and us having a discussion. So folks, look, there are a lot of things that I expect to, as I get more subscribers, I want to make this thing more interactive. I want to make this in a fashion that we become a force. The politics done right, folks, become a force and go out there, and as we make changes, it's not going to be just this static thing where you sit here and listen to me rant or talk or inform or whatever. It is going to be, the idea is to have you be a part of it. And some of this stuff is videoed if you want it, that we get it out there. I mean, we want to have a system where we can make a difference, not just talking. You know, I don't know if you read my blog today. I wrote a blog on William Bill McLeod, who's a very hard worker, canvassing and putting things out. I worked with him, build some door things. We are out there on the road, in the streets, doing the job of trying to get progressives elected. Not only sitting down behind a keyboard, not only sitting down in front of a camera. We want to do this, and all of us together can do that. And later on, as we have more tools to bring you in, we'll talk about all of that. But please go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right. Support it, and then you get a chance to read the book as it's written. And when the final book is out, you get a copy. You get a copy. And by the way, this book will be sold at Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and all the other stores. It will be there. So anyhow, we are coming. We're not yet to the program. Let me see if I have any more messages that I need to read. Let me refresh the screen and see what else you guys have to say. Let's see. Okay, let's go to Daniel Ladeau. Let's see beforehand. Keith Ellison, it continues to amaze me how liberals continue to support sexual abusers. No, not just support, but protect a predator like Ellison. I don't really know that Ellison is a predator, but if I were to find out that Ellison was a predator the same way that I've treated Senor Kavanaugh, I would treat Ellison. The difference here, though, is the reason we are so fast on attacking Kavanaugh is going for a permanent position on the Supreme Court. There is a difference there, my friend. That stuff, when he gets there, he's there for life unless he's impeached, and that's unlikely. So what I'm trying to say is, we have to be smart in how we work. Folks, if you're just getting here, please share this program on your wall, share this program on your page, share this program everywhere, because that is how we are going to make a difference. Again, I just saw a new batch of people come in. So please, patreon.com/politics done right. If you want to support this show, it's worth your while. And you know what? It's a cup of coffee. Think about it. Or cheaper than a cup of Starbucks coffee, maybe a McDonald's coffee. But you know what? I don't want to promote McDonald's here. I want to promote folks that pay people a good wage, or somewhere that pays people something that they can live a good life, something that pays people to go to college, something that gives people health care, something. Oh, my God. That company does that. McDonald's doesn't. Oh, well, there you go. Just not to charge an extra 30 or 40 cents on a hamburger, we let you pay. Anyhow, folks, so let me check one more time and refresh one more time to see if I have any new messages. Becky Hasselback, welcome aboard. I don't think I saluted you as yet, so welcome. Angela Black, I don't think I saluted you either. Welcome aboard. Let's see if there's anybody else that I haven't saluted or said hi to. I think I spoke to Kathleen. So welcome aboard, my dear brothers and sisters. We are going to continue to grow this thing slowly. I also ask you when you're coming in here, go ahead and share our link to our link for our subscription link with your friends, because the only way progressives are going to make a difference, the only way we're going to move forward is if we go ahead and win. Not only win, but if we go ahead and come down and support those of us who are supporting the movement, those of us who are part of the movement. Okay, Michael Redden says White House is still blocking the FBI investigation of Kavanaugh, Ford, and all the others they want to talk to. That is so true. That is so sad. You know what, though? This should be the biggest fear of Republicans, that they rush this guy in and 3 weeks down the road or 4 weeks down the road, closer to the election, something breaks on Kavanaugh, something that nobody knew or nobody had proof of, and they finally corroborated it near the election after these guys force vote a man onto the Supreme Court as opposed to waiting. Here's the truth. They can wait till after the election. You know why? Congress is still in session. They can put him back there. They can actually put him back there if they wanted to. Folks, if you're still just joining us, please go ahead and share this program on your wall, share this program on your page, everywhere else. We're coming up close to the end of the program. I want to remind all of you folks, please go register to vote. You only have a few more days to register to vote, as I recall. I don't have the date in your states. We were all over the states. But please, if you're not, check your county office to make sure that you are registered if you think you're registered, because there's a lot of shenanigans that are going on out there. So please, one, register to vote. If you're not registered, or if you think you're registered, check the records to make sure you're listed as registered to vote. And after you do that, also please remember to help other people go vote before election day on. If you're in a state that have special or have early elections, please help your neighbor go get a vote. Please help your neighbor who think they don't need to vote. Please convince your neighbor they need to vote. And please let them know why they need to vote, because their lives are at stake. Their Social Security is at stake. Their Medicare is at stake. Their health care is at stake. And I'm not only talking about the Affordable Care Act. I'm talking about all health care. The tax cut scam stripped so much money out of the budget that there has to be cuts somewhere else, and that is social programs. The other things that we have to remember is there's another huge tax cut, $100 billion tax cut scam 2.0 that Trump and the Republicans are working on. And as soon as that goes, is a further deficit we're talking about. These guys can always find money for tax cuts and war. They can never find money for humanity, something that they preach there for. Oh, we are pro-life. Okay, we need some milk for the kid. Go work or starve. I could never, ever get it. But folks, we are coming up to the end of the show. Again, please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, patreon.com/politicsdoneright, and go ahead and, subscribe, and you'll be getting How to Make America Utopia, the book. You'll get, as I release chapters, it'll be online for you to read. It's locked out unless you are a subscriber. And if you go to the corresponding group and give us suggestions that we happen to use in the book, with your permission, your name will be cited in the book as well. So please, folks, let's support progressive media. Support progressive media. Go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. My name is Egberto Willies, and you know how I end this baby, but I usually say it this way. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And guess what? I am out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.